Welcome, crew, to What Are Your Three, a Channel 3 podcast where we take a member of the Channel 3 community, discuss 3 games of their choosing, some honorable mentions, future game to look forward to, and some other odds and ends, and have a good old video game conversation. I'm Dan. With me, as always, is El Rey.
Hey everybody, today our guest is one of the youngest, but also one of the most consistent users on C3, Bammonty. Welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
Good, how about you?
Doing all right. So, first question, has your winter break started yet?
Yes.
It has. Congratulations. I hope you thoroughly enjoy your time off. Bammonty is the first winner of the podcast blank check. Got himself the blank check on the wheel spin, and so he chose to have an episode for himself, and here we are. So we're going to get going with Bammonty's 3 games.
All right, on that note, let's get to that first game, Bammonty. You talked about Skylanders Trap Team being game number 1, 2014. Not many ratings yet. At the height of the toy-to-game, toy-to-life craze, frankly, that happened throughout the 2010s. Tell us, why Trap Team? How Trap Team ended up being at the top of the list here?
Since, like we said at the beginning, I'm one of the youngest people here on C3, so I'm not knowing as much games as some people here. And this is one of the first games I ever got to play on the Wii because it was Christmas time and I just got a Wii U for one of the gifts, and it came with Skylanders Trap Team as an exclusive to it. Came with 2 characters, and I decided to try it out first. And the first thing I did was log on, had 2 playable characters, and had to put them on a portal. It seemed a little boring at first, but then the farther I progressed, it seemed more fun because there was like action. You kept fighting bosses, and like there was a boss fight every time you would do one. There was more than one thing you would do because there'd be these crystals with all these villains you would have to trap in them. Eventually, you could use these crystals and put them in your portal and use them as your own characters. And this game originally started as just Spyro's thing. I know a ton of people have heard about Spyro. And since it started with him, eventually progressed into Skylanders with him being the main character, progressed to more games. And each game that came, more characters were created. And there would be a ton of them. Like, one of my favorites, though, was still Spyro because I would still use him all the time. Like, that was the 3rd one I got. Instantly got it before I started playing. And when I started the thing, I would have fun because you would have all these powers like the swords. You could get gold coins similar to Mario. It's on it. I would just play this game for hours and hours. And eventually there would be like actual boss fights. Like some of the bosses were weak, some of the bosses were strong. Not only during this, but it was an entire storyline type of game.
So I wasn't too familiar. Frankly, I've got like a whole toy-to-life shelf, and we're going to talk. I've probably got more to contribute when we talk about Game 3 here, which we're going to come back to that. But I do have a section dedicated to Skylanders because the third, I think it was the 3rd one, came out when Toys R Us crashed and burned. And, you know, my kids just kind of gathered. They were like 50 cents a piece. We just kind of gathered a bunch of them up. They frankly end up playing with them more. I've never even hooked the game up. They have more fun with the figures than the actual game. And the funniest part is I've got, I think, Crash Bandicoot and Neo Cortex in the mix there. So,
those also came with the game.
Yeah, the Skylanders really picked up, though. And the funny part was the kids haven't played that game. I haven't played that game. I'm looking at a bunch of the crystals from it that are up there on the shelf. They look really cool on the shelf. I'll tell you that much. But the other funny thing is there were a few seasons of a Netflix series that went along with that too. Like you said, it started with Spyro.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. You had the whole Spyro, initial trilogy there. It's been re-released since then, but Skylanders just, I don't know what made them make that transition that was going to be the brand they took into the toy to life craze, but they really made that work in there.
I remember because going off the Trap Team a little, when the last one came out before Skylanders decided to stop, the game started to like get really expensive, and even I went to buy the 7th one, obviously, because this was one of my favorite games I ever played. Then the first thing that happened that stopped me from playing some of it was the characters would get way expensive. Like, the first character I bought was only $5, and then eventually it got up to like $50 a character.
Yeah, it was crazy because most of them, it seemed like they were even, and again, we'll talk more about this probably when we get to Game 3, but like the retail price for those things was averaging like $15, $20. So you didn't have, if you buy 3 of them out of the, I don't know how many there were for Skylanders, but you buy 3 of those things and you may as well have just bought another game. That was the crazy part about it. And some of them just try and make it like, you can't really do the whole thing unless you you have this character over here with this ability, and we're not going to discuss the
vehicle.
Lego Dimensions one, but that again was another one. We just kind of like, hey, we got a bunch of them for like for $20, and that made it worthwhile. But I couldn't figure out the sustainability of it because you couldn't even play levels in Lego Dimensions without that. So it was pretty cool. Skylanders made it work though.
Yeah. I still think one of my favorite memories is when I went onto the Chaos level, the final level. It was my first time I actually played a level that I couldn't beat the first try. So I kept trying for days and days and days, and I finally was able to build it and beat it. But the one thing I do remember is after that game started getting harder because I realized, having no brains at all at a young age, that I was on easy mode.
I'll let you know something now. You say you got no brains at all now, and where you're at, I'm pushing 40 next year. Yeah, it doesn't get better, bud.
Yeah, because apparently I was on easy mode, so I switched to harder modes, and I kept playing and playing. I remember I would play this with my family and friends all the time whenever they came over if I want to. Whenever I got home from school, because mostly we do this during the summer, because that's when I really started playing it. And I would finish it a bunch in different things because you could save different servers. It was just really fun. I do think, however, this was 2 years ago when I tried it again. I hooked my Wii up to my TV. This was the first time I've actually hooked up my Wii U in so long. So I tried it out, and the graphics made me think that I am glad for what we have today. They were very rough when they looked like from then.
Hey, listen, when you go back and I was around your age when Nintendo 64 came out. I remember cracking open Super Mario 64, and it was the cleanest, most perfect thing I've ever seen. And my memory of it right now even is that it looks the same as Mario Odyssey does today. Perfect, clean, cartoonish, and every time I turn it back on the Switch, I'm horrified at what I'm looking at and horrified by the control scheme. So that's only going to get worse with the way games are going these days. So buckle up.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to buckle up on that car. I do remember though, one of the first times I played it, I decided to play with my brother, and he was 2.5 years younger than me. I was only 7 or 8 at the time when this happened. So obviously, the best part about it was I was able to help him understand. I mean, yes, it was frustrating helping someone that didn't know how to do anything with the controller at the time, especially if they put it in their mouth one time. But I had to explain all the controls, and that just made me realize that I could play this game more often, still feel like this is the first time I'm playing it and learning it all over again. But when I did play, it was so fun. Like, you could play with 2 characters, and this was the first time I played multiplayer on it, and went much smoother when playing. I could get all the crystals, I could get all the power-ups for all the characters, I could get all the gold coins. I could just go much faster through the game.
All right, so we move on to game 2, to the present now. It is Fortnite, which is 4.5 stars on channel 3. Is no stranger to anyone here. So, bammonty, let's start. I don't know, are you a build person or are you a no build person?
Build.
You're the build person, right? Which makes
We'll play no build
sense.
if someone wants to play no build. I don't really care, but I would prefer build.
Okay, tell me why.
Because this happens a lot. Because I first started build player and always wished no build because I was awful at the game when I first started. And the worst part about starting when I did was during the worst season in Fortnite history, Season X. Just imagine not knowing how to build, and no build wasn't available in the first chapter. Just going into the game, not knowing anything. The first thing that happens is a mech just jumps on top of you and you have nothing to do.
So what is it? Tell me, what is it about Fortnite and the building that all the younger people love? Because this is definitely a young person's game. I know a bunch of students love to play. So tell me why Fortnite is the young people's game.
Right, so this is the first, like, a bunch of kids my age usually want to play shooter games, but some parents don't like shooting games because some parents will complain about blood and all the graphics and all the bad things that happen in it. This game doesn't have any of that, so most parents will actually allow this game. First, you obviously have to convince them, but once you start the game, it gets fun because you can play with a bunch of people, and when the custom things came out in creative, you just practice all your skills and get better at the game much faster.
Do you do a lot of creative mode?
I do a lot.
I like how the most parents and some parents are in the background there. You gotta be real careful how you're throwing that out there right now.
So
I am being careful.
What are you doing in creative mode? Are you doing like the one-on-one box fights? Are you doing zone war? What are you doing when you're creative?
I will play box fights sometimes just to get a little warm up, and then I'll play Zone Wars Go Goated. That game, you get to play with people that are more experienced at the game than you. You can learn what they're doing by watching them in case you die, and it helps me get better because one time I was playing, still figuring out the first time how to edit on a PlayStation, and some guys started helping me, and I started to understand editing much more on it, and I ended up getting 12 kills out of the server that time.
So you're playing on PlayStation? Is that where you play Fortnite?
Yeah, I play PlayStation.
So you play on a controller?
Yeah.
All right, so here's the next question. Now, this is kind of an older thing, but I know a couple of my students still do it. Do you play with a claw grip, or do you have paddles on your controller? Or you just have a normal controller? How do you play?
I just play a normal controller.
Okay.
I originally started, like the first time I ever started on Fortnite, I was actually a mobile player. And one thing that mobile players always had hate for was the aim assist.
Mm-hmm.
And I always turned it off because I didn't feel like I wanted actual skill at the game and not just having that effect. Like then sometimes people would always accuse me of having it because I was on mobile. I was very good with the deagle when that was still a popular weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I could hit headshots or shots from anywhere with it. Like on one-shot modes and creative with all my friends, just hit crazy snipes on them with it or trick shots.
So I gotta pull it out here. I've been holding back because again, you are a hero in my family's home. As frequently you're willing to pair up with me and my son going out there. Which the funniest part of it, I just need to know, is there a battle cry that happens on your end? Because someone will mark a spot. We get out of the battle bus. We start heading down. My son and I, we start looting. We're getting ready. We're gearing up. You don't stop. You don't look back. You just start going off on a mission, just trying to see if you can get to 36 eliminations or not. What? Talk to me about that. How does that happen?
I just think that if you don't kill everyone at your location instantly, there's no chance of you escaping. Back when Tilted Towers was still a thing, you landed there, there's no escape. You kill everyone or you don't. That's the only way to stay alive when that was still a thing.
See, I don't even bother landing at Tilted Tower. Like, I joke because we did a birthday party for my daughter today, and she wanted a Fortnite theme, even though her main thing is to just drive around and look at things. But it's just funny because, I would never land there. I land on the outskirts of town, find some abandoned farmhouse or gas station, loot that, and all right, I'm ready then. Let's go for it. But like I said, we turn around, you're gone. You're gone. We look up, there's 8 eliminations already, and the match has been on for a minute and a half. And once in a while, maybe 1 out of every 10 times we got to come dig out your reboot card or come try and heal you. But most of the time, you're just out there taking bodies.
I think that's the one thing I have most skill in. Like, I'm good at building. The one thing that got me good at the game was my aim and how much I could get with every gun. Because building's good, but this is the only reason why I'm not as good as building as I am with my aim. On mobile is very bad at building, and it doesn't let you edit for some reason that much. I would try to edit, wouldn't let me play box fights, regret every moment of that. And I played Zone Wars box fights, regret even more moments of that. Then I just decided to get better at my aim. So I would go on aim trainer, that people set up in creative, practice on that every day, and my aim just became really good. My favorite weapon at the time, now before mobile got lost, was finally gone forever, sadly, was Apple. The only reason I'm not going to talk about Apple is because I have some very strong opinions next to me about Apple, so I'm not going to say anything about it and how I think Apple is wrong in this opinion. I'm just going to say that once it happened, before it happened, I was very good with the charged shotgun, and I could at least build stairs in the game on mobile, so I would build upstairs and then I'll jump down and hit some crazy shot with the charged shotgun. One time when crash pads were first in the game, I built up to max height, hit a bunch of bounce pads, put them down on the ground, jumped off, made a crazy 200 pump with the charged shotgun.
Hey, listen, just to let you know, you may not be safe in the room where you're at, but this is a pro Android podcast hosting team. At least once we can convince Ray's wife to make the jump back to Android.
We're getting it. We're going to get there. It's going to be a few years just for the sake of when phones change, but I think we are heading in that direction. All right, last question. Tilted Towers is gone for now, but we always it comes back eventually. But what are your thoughts on the new map? What do you like? What do you not like? Tell me about it. Last part.
Not a bad map, but the only reason that's keeping me usually away from saying that it is the graphics. Because tiniest the map has ever been in the game is now, and there's only 9 locations. Like, last chapter, we all thought there was barely any locations at 13, but this is 9, which is still tons of area there could be location, even though it's still a tiny map. The map locations why am I forgetting the names now? Like Slappy Shores, I love that because I remember the Slurp Factory back in chapter 2.
Yep.
It just reminded me of that instantly, and that's why I landed there first. And I placed second my first game that day. I regret what I did, though, because apparently I didn't know anything about the hammer, and that is very overpowered. It was just new.
I don't want to hear about the hammer being overpowered. These balloons are overpowered.
This is how I won my first game. Well, this is how I got a kill in the first game. This is not how I won the first game. Got balloon augments. Flew in the air, I had a rocket launcher. Someone shot out my balloons. So I shot them back to the lobby with a rocket launcher in the air.
Well
the,
done.
the balloons are a bit nuts. I agree with you. There is less. The less locations is odd. I'm hopeful that they just are planning on adding things because there are less locations. I notice it as I try to take pictures that I'm going to the same spots and I have to try to pick different areas. So I totally agree with you there.
Yeah, there is a belief though, and Pump believes me on this. He's seen this too. There's supposedly throughout either seasons or updates, the lands that are far from the actual island, they're gonna add it and combine it to the island and smush it together with 0 Point doing it to add more locations. Supposedly, Tilted Towers isn't fully deleted from the game because the clock tower is in one of the areas and under all the ice there, and I go to it sometimes. But that in there.
Go ahead.
The one thing I do want this map to happen though is to at least make sure there's more locations. That's all I want. Like, you can keep the map size as long as I can get map location.
All right, Bam. Let's jump into game 3. We're jumping back into the toy to life realm. You brought up Disney Infinity. Now, I don't know whether you meant specifically the original 2, 3. You know, what are your thoughts here? What are we talking about when we're going into Disney Infinity?
The Marvel version in 2.0.
Ah, nice. Yeah. See, that one came. Hulk. I know Hulk was one of the big. What was it? Black Widow came. Black Widow, Hawkeye. Were they the ones that came with the initial set for that one? I think.
I know that I had this just on my phone. I know that Black Widow and Iron Man definitely came with it.
That was it. Yep.
Yeah, it was that, and it was also Thor. Yeah, Thor, Black Widow, and
Iron Man. Yep.
Thor, Black Widow, and Iron Man. That's what I meant. I still have these figures like everywhere inside my house. Here, I have many of them. You said earlier that sometimes your kids would just want to play with them. I would do that too sometimes because as a kid, you would have many imaginations. A kid, they can make a game out of a single pebble.
So did you build your own levels in there? That was something I never quite got into. Like, it could get elaborate when you're trying to build all sorts of contraptions, traps, schemes. So were you actually a builder in the game?
Tried it once and almost worked, but it didn't work. I do think though, like just playing around, doing some quests and fooling around and doing it all at the same time and repeating the system over, a little boring, which made the game not as fun, but I would keep doing it because I'm a huge and giant fan of Marvel and Disney things. Like, I watch Disney Plus at least 2 or 3 times every day. With this Marvel thing, like, you could just go into the game and instantly act like you're the character and you get to do all the Hulk smashes or Iron Beams and fight people.
So who'd you say was the go-to character for 2.0?
The go-to Iron Man, Black Widow, and Thor. But my go-to character was Hulkbuster.
Oh, the Hulkbuster. Yeah, see, I was going to say Hulk himself was the one I think I ended up using most often because he could climb the buildings when you got him fully bulked up and just could really wreck things pretty easily. Was that or Iron Man if I needed to fly, I think.
And the Hulkbuster is basically them just combined. You could get a 2-in-1 right there.
Yeah, best of both.
That one, though, I think that one might have been a limited edition for a while because I found him one time not knowing anything about it being limited edition, but came back to get another one because we were going to get it from one of my friends, but no store had it and it was no longer online. Like, so we immediately thought that it was limited edition. And some characters were, because you can't always make characters over and over again. That's one of the reasons why Skylanders went down in fall and why they didn't do so good.
Oh yeah, this stuff was expensive. Like, I mean, this is what I was referencing earlier. You know, I mean, we went in and just kind of cleaned out abandoned Toys R Us's to stockpile. I mean, I can't imagine. There's no way we would have even gotten close to getting the amount of them that we have. And again, same thing. We've played through. We didn't play really 1.0. We played through 2.0. We did.
That's what
we did Spider-Man, we did Guardians, we did the Avengers game.
I love the Guardians one.
Oh, the Guardians one was good. We played through that one a few times.
One and most memories in that one.
Yeah, and then we did the 3.0 also. The Star Wars, I want to say really the Clone Wars era one, I think was the one that my kids had more fun with. But again, the same thing though. They'll be like, hey, we're just going over and we're just playing with the figures for this too, and then they'll go in and play the game and just kind of act out the same battles. They'll just open up like a treehouse setup and just throw in a bunch of enemies and just kind of make up their own game as they go too. Yeah.
You could buy, like, let's say your kids, I don't know if they are, but if they're a fan of Legos, like, you could just take those figures instead, act like they're Legos instead, because those figures are similar to Lego figures. Like, you can make imagination out of them, you can do anything with them, and you can play with them. It'd be easier if you just played with them because you already have them. I remember one time I wanted to play on Marvel Story. This one ended up with a bunch of the characters dying because that's what I always imagined as a little kid, killing off a bunch of the characters. That's what I would do all the time, like just with them, kill them off, bring them back to life, and just repeat the system over again. It wasn't as much fun as playing the actual game was. You couldn't climb walls unless you had to actually climb it by yourself. And that's the one thing, the only reason why I didn't do it as much as I played the game. Because the game, you could actually use superpowers. You could actually launch the arrows by Hawkeye. You could actually use a unibeam. That's the thing that separates the game from the actual toy to life stuff. You can use everything. You can use your imagination. The toy to life actual games brings the imagination to reality.
I'll tell you, I mean, that was very well put. And the other thing I'll just add to, I just liked the visual aesthetic of the figures themselves and how they really brought together, all the old school Disney. They had the modern stuff. They had like the Baymax and Big Hero 6 stuff in there, Frozen, Marvel, Star Wars, and they all made it work together, like visually.
Like they put everything from Disney, from all of Disney history. You could grab any Disney character you wanted and just put it in. Almost all the Disney movies created into one thing and put that's thousands or even 10,000s of hours of movies just watched there. One single CD or 3 single CDs that you can just put in your TV and reenact them yourselves or play the actual storyline part of it. I preferred playing the one where you could do anything freely than the actual storyline. The storyline, I would get lost sometimes.
Thanks for walking us down your 3 there. We're going to move into the honorable mentions now. We're going to talk about a couple of games here. First of all, we're going to start off with Spider-Man, specifically the Miles Morales edition. 4.6 rated on Channel 3. We got a fresh batch of ratings, recently having had the PC version released. So tell us, how did Miles Morales, how'd that make your next set of game rankings here?
I always was a giant fan of Marvel, like I said earlier. The one character that always stuck out to me in that thing was Spider-Man. And I always imagined the PS5 came out that I always wanted to get it. I never could. And eventually, once I saved up $500, first game I got, this was on Christmas, I got Miles Morales, put it in, uploaded it, and I stayed up till 1 o'clock in the morning that night to start it and play it. Got through a couple of the parts, then I just kept playing and playing and playing, and it was the fastest game. I completed it in less than 4 days. I would eventually just keep starting over and playing it and figuring out more secrets. Last level, though, I got stuck on for 2 hours. I had to do a little cheating by calling something by Google, figuring out what it means by slinging something to another thing because it wouldn't do it. But Miles Morales, originally like the Spider-Man, because I was at a friend's house and I played it with him a bunch, the Spider-Man version, and I really loved it. Me and him repeated it over again, and we each took turns. But I like the villains more from Miles Morales, because knowing that Miles had a giant friend from before he moved, that it was all just a big betrayal, and that she worked for a supervillain organization, just made it more of a storyline game than the actual game. You could visualize your own movie. I want a new Miles Morales movie. Glad that new Spider-Man movie's coming out. I could just imagine the storyline while playing it.
I just have to sit here and tell myself not to go nerd off about that trailer that we just got for Across the Spider-Verse. So we're not going to go into
That was an amazing trailer.
Yeah, I've been crossing way too much into the movie discussions. I'm going to just pull the ripcord back from that myself. I just have to ask, because the Spider-Man games are responsible for my most platinum trophies on PlayStation. Did you actually get to do the new Game Plus, get the platinum trophy in here?
I haven't done that yet, but I'm gonna try that I'm gonna try that on Monday, most likely.
Nice. Good luck.
I'll probably be able to.
I'll tell you, listen, it's okay. You got to Google some of these things. That's okay. See, back in my day, you had to go take $20, go to a store and buy a book that was 3 inches thick to try to find that one piece of information you couldn't figure out was there. So a quick Google to a wiki or an IGN site, a lot better than having to go buy a Brady Games book.
Yeah, because if just me imagining what you just said, if I had to one thing that, and let's say this was the only thing I ever needed to do on that game. It's not. If it was, that I would just have to buy a $20 book just for one simple thing in a 100-page thing, it would be the most frustrated thing ever.
Oh, what a time to be alive.
I still think, though, the one thing that made me more excited in that game was the swinging. I always wanted to, actually swing as Spider-Man. That's the one thing that I mostly just did. Sometimes I wouldn't even play the game. I would just go in and swing.
The swinging's great, and my daughter, I mean, she's 8, she's about to turn 8. And even with the, maybe by the time she was 5, all she wanted to do was just swing around the city even herself. I'll tell you, my biggest nerd moment, if I didn't mention it during another Spider-Man discussion, the first time you go on a stealth mission and you yank somebody up and hang them off the wall. Yeah. Like, yeah, no, I'm in. I'm done. I'm a mark for that.
I'm going to play it again soon for that trophy you said. That's where... When I first figured out how to do the stealth thing, I just snuck up behind everyone. Like, I just abandoned the mission and did it for like an hour and just stealthed everyone and hung everyone up to either a lamppost, wall, traffic cone. Sometimes I would have to knock out a few guys.
I don't know what they're going to do for 2 because Miles is flat out overpowered by the end of the game.
Yeah, really overpowered. They got to make a second version of it. Like, if they made a second version of it, done. Take my money. I'll do the pre-order. I don't really care. I just want to play another one of it.
Hey, it's coming in the fall. They said we're getting it by fall 2023, so get ready. Start saving.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to save up for that. Next, my birthday's in the fall, so that's even more helpful.
Next game on the list, you have Wii and Switch Sports. So, I mean, the first question has to be, where did you play Wii Sports? Do you own a Wii?
I own a Wii.
You own a Wii. That's amazing. So, which sport do you like best to play?
Bowling.
On both of them, or it's just on the Wii Sports?
Both of them.
Both of them.
Hey Ray, I think his attorney had something to say about who exactly owned that Wii. I heard some grumbling in the background there.
I mean, I'm always surprised. I do have 7th graders who tell me, I have an Xbox 360, and I always like, you do? Are you sure? So I mean, it always shocks me when anyone has anything back from 2006.
I have to remind my 7 and 9-year-old, no, you don't have a Wii. There's a Wii in our home. You don't own a Wii.
There's a Wii at the house.
Wii is his, but the Wii U is mine. Like the Wii U I actually own. That is mine, and he cannot say that that's his.
All right, so which has the better motion controls, the Wii Sports or the Switch Sports?
I have played the Switch Sports with my friends, and they easily switched to me as better motion controls. I remember on the Wii goes, I would just play bowling with my cousins and friends. Anytime I let go of one single button, and it wasn't even like a little bit off of it, I would say, please put your finger on this button, otherwise the game won't work. It just, like, sometimes it'd be frustrating. Like, sometimes I'm about to have a really good thing, lined it up perfectly, and then it just says, I didn't do it. And this is the game I would actually be very competitive with my cousins about this. Like, every time we went to Indiana, we would have the Wii or Wii U, just hook it up to Wii Sports, and we played a bunch of different sports. Like, we would play volleyball. I think it was volleyball. We would play ping pong. We would do a flying game. I forget what it's called. But bowling, we mostly competitive. And one time, I flinged the Wii controller a little bit too much, and it kind of flew downstairs.
Oh no, that's what the wrist is. That's what the wrist is for. You gotta tie the wrist guard in.
Yeah, there's probably be a label also on the controller that says it. Maybe that wouldn't happen.
I think every game tells you to do it, if I remember correctly. All right, let's look to the future. One game that you are looking forward to, and that is Hogwarts Legacy, which I think a lot of people are looking forward to. Yeah. So first question is, when you get the game, which house do you want to join?
Most people would obviously say like Slytherin or Gryffindor. Those are like the obvious picks because those are obviously the two favorites and most mentioned throughout either of the Harry Potter games or movies or series because that's what they mostly mention. That's where most of the main characters come from. Like, yeah, Harry Potter, Hermione, and Ron right there. And Draco Malfoy, also a big character. He's from Slytherin. I would start in Ravenclaw.
Ravenclaw, okay. So Ravenclaw, have you taken any Harry Potter tests? Are you a big reader? Why Ravenclaw?
And mostly one of the characteristics of it is you're very smart. I am one of those things right there. I'm definitely smart. I wish though that there was an actual house that one of the things says sports. That'd be nice.
That's true.
When the game comes out, I definitely will try to do the Quidditch.
Ray, okay. Before you go further, Ray, hold on, Ray. You got to answer that question too. I need to know, like, what have you done the Pottermore? What's the basis here? What's the house you're hoping for, Ray?
Oh, I'm a Gryffindor, and yes, I do the Pottermore. I'm all about the Harry Potter stuff.
Gryffindor is an obvious pick.
I'm all Gryffindor. Hey, I'm an obvious person.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, back off of this Gryffindor slander, kid. There's none of that. I'm a
Gryffindor person all day. So the game says, or rumored, that you can actually go down a dark path. So if you're given the option in the game, are you going to stick as the full-on good guy, or are you going to, look into these dark art abilities?
I'm gonna go instantly to the dark art abilities.
No hesitation, Ray. No hesitation.
Instantly to the dark.
That's the same kid yelling YOLO and running off in Fortnite. That's the same player I've seen there.
Oh man! All right, so
There's no hesitation.
Are you a fan? So you had a lot of strong opinions about this Harry Potter and the obvious choices. Have you watched all the movies? Have you read the books? Where is your Harry Potter fandom from?
I've read all the books and watched all the movies, but I do realize like some things in the movies aren't in the books, and some things and when I mean some things, I mean a lot of things from the books are not in the movies.
This is true. How do you feel about that?
I don't prefer the movies. Like the movies, you can actually experience it, but you've read all the books, right?
I have.
Some of the deaths that are in it
Mm-hmm.
are not even mentioned at all in the movies, because and how they died aren't mentioned. Because I remember in movie 7 and 8 and book 8, I saw that Snape was really the one who killed. It was George I think it was George Weasley that died. Snape was really the one that actually killed him on accident, because he was fighting someone else. Really, he was fighting someone on the side that he was really just pretending to be on, and he accidentally casted a spell. It accidentally hit George, but that part, all you heard in the movie was George is dead. Nothing happened. You don't even know how he died. Just leaves him straight dead on the ground. You don't even know what happens.
I'm going to tell my wife about this conversation. Because she is an English teacher, and she's going to be very happy to hear about this. To hear about kids who are happy about the books and reading the books. It also makes me happy too. This is warming my heart, by the way. But we're gonna move on to one of the last questions of the day.
All right.
So, Bam, one of the things we do during the course of the podcast is we pull up a question from the Channel 3 history, and bring it up here for you to discuss. And we asked about your favorite Pokemon starter type. Is it fire? Is it water? Is it grass? And why?
I chose fire. And one thing, going back to the thing that you just said, that I would instantly pick evil and go instantly in that Harry Potter thing. Fire represents fire. You think of fire, it's fire could be a bad thing, but fire could also be a pure, a part of you that's just evil. It represents something like a big spark in you that represents something. And when I go to Pokemon, you think of Charizard, one of the most first Pokemon cards and one of the most favorite Pokemons in the game or in the show, you instantly think fire is the most powerful. And this time, unlike some people where they didn't listen to the rules, you love your rules in the quest. I listened to the rules. I chose fire because I think that fire represents a big spark of mischief and wanting to do a bunch of things. Like Fortnite, like I said, I just love getting a bunch and tons of kills. That fire, and I think fire, I have fire inside of me whenever I try to do any of that stuff.
Ray,
fire represents a part of me.
Ray, we got a video game philosopher here. I don't know. I remember there was a whole series of books of the philosophy of South Park and other, silly pop culture items. If there is not a philosophy of Pokemon book and course available, I think we have a future scholar on our hands here.
I was going to say, we need the philosophy of bammonty right here.
Yeah.
We got to write
I
this
do
stuff
think,
down.
though, Pokemon's going into a bad era right now.
Uh-oh.
Have you heard the rumors about Ash being removed from the series?
It's not a rumor.
Not a
He
rumor,
is.
Chief. Not a rumor.
We're having new
I'm hoping
characters.
it's a rumor. I know he's not going to be in anymore, but in everyone's hopes and dreams, they hope it's just a rumor and they're just going to stop it. Because this is the thing that'll probably ruin Pokemon. If anything from the Pokemon shows instantly goes down, they'll most likely bring him about. But when they bring him to be no longer in the shows, Pokemon will be probably ruined for a long time. He's one of the main parts why they actually did good.
Dude's been 10 years old for a quarter century. He finally got his win. Let him have some rest.
It's true. He's been 10 for 25 years.
Yeah, that is a big thing. In reality, he's now 35. If we go into another Pokemon show and we see a 35-year-old Ash, I do not know how I'm going to feel about that.
Right, I do not like the tone of this 35-year-old. The making it sound like 35 is ancient here. This is
It's ancient.
We're going to take that down about 3 notches. You're at an 8, and we need you at a 5.
Okay.
We get to the last question, which we ask everybody. Bammonty, you're using this site all the time. What's been your favorite part of Channel 3?
My favorite part of Channel 3 is I'm, like we said in the beginning, I'm big at playing Fortnite, and I always needed a ton of people to play. Sometimes my friends would be playing, sometimes they wouldn't. But when I go into Channel 3, like, I see all these people that like certain games or want to play games. You could just get a certain amount of people that like this game. You could just ask them if they want to play. And most people on the community will play whenever they want or play with you. And I just like the community mostly. Like, I like all the quests. I like Target. And I definitely think that you should hire me because I definitely want to quick cheat sheet on that Target. That would be nice. I mean, I saw you got 1 pixel today.
Bam. Listen, I want to explain something. The way you threw cheat out there, I want you to understand something. There are days, like right now, I've got until the middle of January programmed for the non-Fortnite targets. There are days where Ray and I program it the night before, and you could put a gun to our head and tell us to find where the spot is that we programmed in the night before, and it's not going to happen.
I think it's happened twice in the past week for me.
I saw that 100. Wasn't that yesterday?
Oh no, I put in about 15 days at the same time, and then the next day I had no idea what I had done.
Like you've never seen it before. You go in like I don't even remember. It doesn't help Fortnite right now. Like, oh look, it's a castle where it's snow.
I was really confident.
I don't like the castles.
I was extremely the castles look all the same. I was really confident yesterday and clicked right away, and I was 100 and something off. I completely fooled myself.
This is the place that I go. Like, when the motorcycle quest happened on Channel 3, Joe got that lucky $1 million. I know how to now get 7 million because there's a quick patch that's going to be fixed soon. But when I kept trying that, I would land there all the time because I know there was 2 guaranteed motorcycles and a bunch of decent knots in that location. So I just go there. And so when I saw it, I'm like, oh, I know where this is. Instantly tapped, got it. Like today's, same thing happened. Instantly knew where it was, tapped it, got it.
With that, we've made it to the end of another episode. We thank our guests again, c3.gg/bammonty. You can find the podcast at c3.gg/podcast. We drop them every Wednesday morning at 3:33 a.m. Eastern on all the major platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. I am El Rey. Dan Tucker runs this whole show. Thank you again, Bammonty. Everyone, have a good day.
You too. Hey, does that mean I see the first game?
No, this is where Dan talks, but something happens.
Oh. I think he's pointing up the finger to wait a minute.
Yeah, it's okay because none of this, some of it might end up on the show or Dan will cut it all out. It's up to him, really.
Yeah. I feel like he's trying to tell a story with his fingers.
Whatever. Dan can he can type to me if something were to go terribly wrong too. There's Dan. Dan, you're quiet.
I'm quiet. Okay, hang on.
Great. Getting a little loud.
Do I sound better?
You sound better now.
Yeah, sorry. Apparently, my microphone decided it needed a hard reset in the middle of all this. So great that disaster in the middle. Joel will be happy as there will be another. There'll be another post-credit stinger I've got to add in afterwards. Awesome.